Hello, Steve White, Tripway89 for Steve Arts 89, Star Trek's Alleged Gatekeeper. Now, it's been almost a week since the first episode of Strange New Worlds came out, and the opinions have sort of landed. We've got a day for the second episode, and it's kind of universally accepted and approved of. People like it. Now, it really just depends on how you view the show. If you view it as a reboot or a reimagining, then it's fine. If you try and view it as part of the original canon and chronology and continuity, it doesn't work. It directly contradicts and undermines things that happened in the original series and Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan. So it's very difficult if you're a real Star Trek fan, old Star Trek fan who is really familiar with the original series and the movies, to watch a show that directly contradicts the events of that show. And to do that to fans is really unfair. They easily could have just avoided the Gorn, avoided Space Seed, avoided Khan, avoided Spock's, betrothed. They didn't have to deal with any of these things. They've only got 10 episodes a season. They could easily have just had new stories with new characters and new aliens and new planets, and not gone back and dealt with these other issues. So to do them in a way that contradicts the other shows and makes it just not compatible for fans of the original show is just really either... I don't know if they just willingly did it and didn't care, or if they really didn't know what they were doing. So that's very frustrating. Now, of course, the usual suspects hate it, like Doomcock and all those people are going crazy on it. And I'm surprised at how hard some people are going at it, because it fixed so many of the problems that they had with Discovery and Picard. So it really just showed that a lot of these people were just using those excuses as a reason to hate the show, so they could just hate a show that was diverse and full of representation and left-wing politics, which it is. Now, I'm left, so I'm not that bothered by it personally, but I can see why the right wing are going crazy, and they are. And I knew they would. I said that as soon as I saw the episode, I'm like, oh God, I can just hear all these other people going at it. I grew up watching... I saw Star Trek as a kid on TV, and I didn't have it on video for years until I was older, and it really existed in my imagination. I had some Gold Key and DC Comics which weren't accurate, which contradicted each other, and I had one of the annuals, and I had the Star Trek the Motion Picture ad that was in a comic that was a ship that never appeared in any Star Trek series or movie. So I had a very fluid idea of what Star Trek was, and it was very much, could be whatever I needed it to be in my imagination, and I drew my versions of the Enterprise and stuff like that. So I'm not that bothered by the idea of retconning or rebooting the show and doing different versions and having different versions. So long as you create them in different universes and separate them so they're not contradicting each other and making it hard to watch, because you can watch them separately. You can watch the JJ films, and you can watch the other Star Treks. They're separate, it's fine. But you try and make them one universe, it doesn't work, people can't enjoy it, it's a mess. So they really need to sort this out. They need to acknowledge it's a reboot, or they keep saying reimagining. They seem to officially be able to call it reimagined, or reimagining this character, or reimagining that. But that's just a nice politically correct word for rebooting or retconning, because they think it sounds better, or somehow people won't realise it's the same thing. So that's very frustrating. So ultimately I did like the show itself, just as its own thing, but trying to fit it into the Star Trek canon with the other shows, it's impossible to do that. So it's very difficult. I still haven't bought Paramount Plus yet. I still don't know where I'm going to watch the second episode. I don't want to give them my money because I feel like they aren't respecting me as a fan and aren't respecting original fans, but I want to watch it properly, and I kind of want to support this direction if they go in it, but there's no telling what they're going to do in the next couple of episodes. Now, so far as the actors and so forth, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of interviews, but they're all very, very slight. Before I get to those, actually, I should talk about Rotten Tomatoes, of course. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics have given it 98% and the fans have given it 86%. And they did a top 10, and I didn't look at the whole thing, I just saw a couple of numbers mentioned. Prodigy apparently was 93, which was the highest one before Strange New Worlds. Next Gen Deep Space Nine are tied at 91, and Picard is at 86. And I really don't want to know where people rank the original Star Trek, because it just shows how underappreciated the show is. Now, so far as characters, there's been some odd statements from the actors. Even Peck said he admitted he had no idea how he was going to bridge the gap between this Spock and the Spock in the series where we saw him and were introduced to him. That's a bit alarming. He's saying, I'm just reading the scripts and trying to experience them as the character of Spock. Chapel admits that they reimagined Chapel for our times. So there's another person acknowledging it's reimagining. Everyone else is pretty much just dancing around, giving away any details of stories or scripts and just saying how much they love the other actors, they love the experience. And that's about it really. Uhura chose her hair. There's not a lot of information. These interviews, like I said, are very slight. And I really just want to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score and the fact that people hate the show who, hate all the other shows, and they're just pretty much sticking to their brand, whereas other people are giving it a chance or at least viewing it separately. And that's the only way you can really view it, is as a separate entity, because it doesn't fit in to the other Star Trek worlds. And it was totally avoidable. They could have just done a show, because that's what I expected. I thought they're just going to go out, deal with new planets, new aliens, new people, and they're not going to deal with the other stuff that we saw in the original series, because why would you want to redo things like the Gorn when you can create a new species? Like, why? All it does is undermines, contradicts, complicates, but yet they don't seem to be able to create anything new. And it's like they're afraid to get away from what's established, but they're ruining it at the same time. So they're not achieving anything, because they're not giving the fans who are familiar with these things what they want. And new fans don't know anything about it and don't care. Like new fans who haven't seen the original Star Trek, they don't know what the Gorn is, they don't care. It's just bizarre. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. I was trying to keep this to 5 minutes, but yeah. No one else said anything really remarkable. Yeah, that's it pretty much. Yep. Number one chose to wear dresses, and Uhura chose when she wanted to wear a dress or not, depending on the episode or how she felt. She got to wear whatever she wanted, which is kind of nice in a way. But okay, so just little tidbits here and there. For the most part, people just saying it's great, keep watching, you're not going to be disappointed, so forth and so on. And that may work for new audiences, people who don't know the original, but for people who do know the original, they want to know, how does this fit? Why did you do this? And like I said, it makes no sense to me that they could have avoided all these plot holes and problems, but yet they just ran straight into them like they didn't know they were there, or they didn't care. Neither gives you a lot of confidence overall. And I am worried that somehow Khan and the eugenics wars and the eugenics issues are going to be brought up in the series as a whole, because people are pointing out that Ortega's, I think I said her name wrong, no, not her, Leanne, she is from like a colony ship, so people are suggesting that somehow Khan's people have survived on a colony, and they've gotten all the way to, current times, and somehow she's infiltrated the bridge and she's going to be like a sleeper agent or something, and it's all going to be about, I don't know, that's just fan speculation. But then I thought, oh God, I wouldn't put that past them, and that would just undermine everything about the original Star Trek Space Seed, the Cage, Khan's character, and again, just drag out a bunch of stories, elements, characters and things from stories we've already dealt with, instead of creating new ones and giving us new experiences. So yeah, I just hope that's not what they're doing. But a lot of people have pointed out some very interesting possibilities and given a lot of little, things to back up that why this could be like this or why this could be like that. And it is a bit worrying. But I hope that doesn't happen. I hope but every time I say that, I think of like the thing with T'Pring. It's like, yes, they had an arranged marriage when they were children, but aren't they going to have to establish all those things themselves? Like, wouldn't one of them propose? Wouldn't they court and do all this stuff? My understanding of a lot of arranged marriages is they're set up, but they have to be built and developed and accepted. They're not forced on people. So the idea that they couldn't have been dating and they couldn't have a casual relationship, they couldn't, one propose to the other and all this sort of stuff. People are really fixating on things that don't contradict anything directly in Star Trek, when they really should be focusing on things that really do contradict directly, because they just make it sound like they're complaining about nothing. So then when people complain about actual issues, it undermines that. just like people complaining about the race and diversity and politics. It really just makes it look bad for the rest of us who are complaining about actual issues. So yeah, it's difficult. But I'm going to go because I'm at 10 minutes and I was not planning to talk this long. There's lots of little things that are sort of interesting me and perplexing me about the series. Some will just go away as we see the episodes develop and we see the direction they go in with the characters. But others may come up and be problems. So I wish I could just enjoy the show and have confidence and faith that they're not going to make things a mess out of things. But they seem to be jumping straight into those problems, either obliviously or without caring. And it's very, I don't know, I'm trying to be optimistic. Overall, I like the show. I just want it to go in its own direction, be its own thing, and enjoy it without having it, having issues and conflicts with other shows and stuff.